Hi, welcome. It's been a while since I focused on perimenopause and it's long overdue, so let's talk about it. It catches so many women off guard with an onslaught of random, chaotic, unexplained symptoms and discomforts and can be a scary transition. That was definitely my experience and I want to share it with all of you because based on my interactions with thousands of women over the years, my perimenopause story is fairly common. And I think many of you will relate. The best place to start is at the beginning. Perimenopause caught up with me at about 45, only I didn't know that's what was happening at the time. It started out innocently enough with mood swings. I was all over the place for no apparent reason and lost all tolerance for other people. Everything annoyed me and sometimes would send me into a rage, and I had zero patience, which was not at all like me. It was weird, but I just brushed it off as a bit of a wonky cycle thing until the palpitations and adrenaline surges started. Those were much harder to ignore. It started out as weird flip-flops that would catch me off guard, then what felt like missed beats that would leave some lingering anxiety, and adrenaline surges that felt like I was driving over a huge hill when I was only sitting on the couch. Terrified was an understatement. It sent me to the ER a couple of times, then to the cardiologist where I had all the tests, and the only thing found was a few missed beats, which apparently is completely normal and everyone experiences them. They just don't know it. Who knew? Shortly after that fear fest, the frozen shoulder hit. I reached up one day and my shoulder didn't. I thought I'd torn something, but I was diagnosed with a frozen shoulder, which I now know is fairly common in perimenopause. And it never fully healed. It still bothers me occasionally. The shoulder issue was quickly joined by golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, sore knees, foot pain, and stiffness in my neck. My body was falling apart, or at least it felt that way, and my doctor blamed everything on anxiety because he couldn't find a reason for any of it. I was understandably anxious because my body was malfunctioning. And honestly, I did have some lingering anxiety that was menopause related, but a lot of it was caused by the unexplained pain and other symptoms, not the other way around. I'm sure many of you have experienced the anxiety diagnosis, likely more than once. So frustrating. I eventually found a great collagen that tames a lot of my symptoms, but perimenopause bulldozed ahead and other unwanted symptoms cycled in. My digestion started acting up next. Nausea, heartburn, reflux, stomach discomfort, cramps, and by far the worst, bloating. The bloating was so unreal, even my doctor was concerned. I looked 7 months pregnant and even felt like I couldn't breathe in deep enough at times. I was so ballooned out. That entire mess went on for a couple of years with no explanation, and not only scared me, but interfered with my ability to function every day. Leaving the house feeling nauseous, crampy, and pumped full of air, on top of all of the other symptoms that were going on, was extremely challenging and uncomfortable. So I spent an awful lot of time in the house. I assume at this point, about 2.5 years into perimenopause, my estrogen was starting to decline because the dryness, rashes, insane itchiness, and paresthesia kicked in. I couldn't stand being in my own skin, and wearing clothing was torture. I scratched myself to bleed. My skin itched, burned, tingled, and felt numb in patches, and every piece of clothing I own felt like sandpaper. It sent me to the neurologist and back and forth to the doctor, only to be told once again that it was just anxiety. I'm sure you can understand how angry I felt when I was so afraid of a terrible condition and was constantly being told I was just a hysterically anxious woman. If only one doctor had mentioned perimenopause back then, those years of fear and discomfort would have looked so different. Now, a few years into this crap show of chaos, my cycles started to act up, and that immediately tipped me off to wonky hormones, so I started researching the matter. I didn't think menopause could be a thing in my 40s, but my periods were all over the place and weird, so I started reading up on early menopause, and that's when I discovered perimenopause. I had no idea what that was all about, but the more I read, the more I realized that I'd been going through perimenopause for years, and that's what was causing my odd and concerning changes. I went back to the doctor armed with that knowledge and discovered something even more shocking. The doctor had no idea what perimenopause was all about either, so I continued to let him rule out other causes for my discomforts, but I was confident perimenopause was the answer. Many more symptoms would follow, like dizziness, tinnitus, clumsiness, brain fog, insomnia, dry eyes, exhaustion, and the inability to regulate temperature, which all annoyed the heck out of me and worried me, but not to the same degree as before because now I knew it was happening to me. Armed with knowledge, I was able to work on diet, exercise, supplementation, and lifestyle changes that were more suitable for menopausal women. And now in postmenopause, I have much better control over the symptoms that remain, and I'm happy to say that most of the perimenopause symptoms have gone. What I've learned from this midlife transition is that loss of estrogen and the retiring of the ovaries affect every inch of the body and have profound effects both mentally and physically. It's so important for doctors to be educated on menopause because every woman will eventually go through it, and most will need support to navigate the chaos and explore treatment options so they can live their best midlives free from fear and a list of unwanted symptoms. How is menopause treating you, or how did it treat you if you're now postmenopausal? I hope you're not dealing with the roulette wheel of discomforts like I did. Those were not some of my better years, I'll tell you that. I wish health, happiness, peace of body and mind, and an uneventful menopause transition for each of you. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.